and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So my first story of the day, very interesting story I found on the Broadcast Law blog. So many people know of the importance of, there's the priority and the importance of local media. And it's one of the songs I keep singing on this show because it's up to critic-free media, very accessible media, to keep local communities informed about things that are going on in their area. And one of those things is local radio. Well, interestingly enough, there has been now a movement afoot to make it legal in states where cannabis has been legalized. It's to make it legal for cannabis sellers to advertise their products and their shops on radio. Now, right now, it is not allowed. You can't use the radio airwaves to aid in its distribution. And the thing of it is, because marijuana is still Schedule 1 at the federal level, and the FCC regulates the airwaves, this pretty much makes it impossible for cannabis companies or cannabis shops to advertise their goods on the radio. So there are apparently a few bills coming up right now, and these are long shots. I want to make it clear, these are long shots. Mm-hmm. But that could actually remedy this situation and provide some really needed revenue for local TV and radio stations. So we start out with, first of all, the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. And Schumer has indicated that the Senate might consider this bill. It would essentially remove marijuana from Schedule 1.
Okay.
And that could open up a lot of opportunities and a lot of possibilities at that point, including the possibility that it would no longer be restricted the way it is, and radio stations or TV stations actually could even advertise for local shops.
Now, again, Gamer and Ganja is bringing this up. Because again, we see people in the live stream chat. So this is only for in states where it's legalized.
It would only be in states where it's legalized.
Okay.
But what it would do is it would take it off Schedule 1, which it should not be on Schedule 1.
It's a plant. Cannabis is a plant.
It is a green growing thing.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes. Too. So the second bill is the Secure and Fair Enforcement Advertising Act. And what it would do is it would allow for the advertising of marijuana in states where it had been legalized, and it would restrict the FCC from taking any action against a broadcaster that carries a legal ad. So it essentially doesn't so much legalize it, but it kind of sort of decriminalizes it, or actually doesn't even do that so much as what it does is it ties the hands of the FCC. The FCC could not go after a radio station that took an ad for the local dispensary.
Okay, now a few things, and just clarify it for our audience in case you got to repeat it, but just so we just so we get the bigger picture. Let's say some of these radio stations have access to be on the internet, and those same commercials, can they also be broadcasted online?
That's an interesting question.
And then number two, let's face it, human beings, we are ingenious creatures. If we want to hear what's happening in a neighboring state, and let's say said person is able to get radio frequency from a state where it is legal, and they live in a state where it is illegal, is there any kind of consequence or ramifications?
These are really good questions. Now, the internet, this FCC does not have the same kind of control over the internet. So, for example, a purely internet streaming station, they can have swear words. They can have curse words, whereas a broadcast station couldn't have that. That would be something that could be determined. But the cool thing is, if you're operating a terrestrial radio station, your engineers should probably be able to control your ad feed. So there's an internet station, a stream. You should be able to have your engineers control that anyways. But because the internet is not controlled in the same way, and it's perfectly legal to advertise legal cannabis stuff on the internet, there shouldn't be a problem. But that would be up to the broadcasting organization to make that decision. Understood. In terms of going over the state boundaries. That's an interesting question, which I think would have to be sorted out. The thing of it is the station and the transmitter would be located in the state where cannabis is legal.
Okay.
So my suspicion is that would not be an issue, because at that point the FCC would say that the FCC cannot go after a station that is legally broadcasting. So even if the FCC had a field office in a state where cannabis is not legal, okay, they would be barred from going into the state where it is legal and trying to arrest station management or close down the station. But that would, that's one of those things that would have to be parsed out.
Okay, and then one other thing, too, that crossed my mind, because, again, and anyone that's really involved in cannabis culture, cannabis community, please comment in the comment section below, or in this video will be clipped for our stories as well. It will be seen on our YouTube channel. But in regards towards how, again, you have a lot of these cannabis companies, because the federal government still vilifies in a cartoonish way cannabis, obviously, any kind of the resources, the funds, the money that these dispensaries make has to be delivered armored car to the bank because they can't do it electronically. How do these dispensaries pay these radio stations? Can they write a check, or is it all done in cash?
That would be up to the radio station.
Okay.
I can tell you this, though. Your average local radio station would be very happy to take your money, and they will probably work with you on, in any way necessary to get that money transferred over. And there's also sponsorship opportunities. There's a lot of things that could be done. With that. Think about the sponsorship opportunities. You get the local cannabis dispensary and a local snack shop.
It's a recipe for success, folks.
But yeah, so that's another possibility. Now there is one other bill.
Okay.
And this is a bill that essentially this one doesn't remove any legal prohibitions, but it would it was a congressional authorization for government spending that includes a provision prohibiting the FCC from spending any money to take any action against a station running marijuana advertising in a state where this business is legal. So that's just basically, again, it's going to tie the hands of the FCC. And the FCC can deal with other problems. So, I think that these are these are not short-term things, but what they could potentially do if one or several of these pass, and it becomes possible to advertise cannabis. Think about it. People aren't, cannabis is not a mail order product. It is something that is very local. And that is exactly what you would want, say, at a local radio station. That's exactly the kind of advertising that everybody benefits from. So why not, if you want to be a red-blooded American, true blue American here, you need to get on your Congress critters and say, support local journalism, make it legal to advertise weed.
Again, we here at Heartlands Media, we're pro-legalization of cannabis. We're glad we're in a city and state where it is legal, but I find it completely cartoonish that the federal government still vilifies cannabis. Look, the war on drugs is a joke. Arresting somebody for cannabis possession is a joke. This is only helping out the prison industrial complex. Many innocent men and women are behind bars because of this ridiculous war on drugs. What the war on drugs is just a click, copy, paste version of prohibition. Look, if people are going to drink, people are going to gamble, people want to pay for sex, if people want to smoke weed or do drugs, they're going to do it. They've been doing it since antiquity, and they're going to do it long after we're all dead and memories in the past. Point is, prohibition doesn't solve anything. I'm all for the legalization of cannabis. I'm all for the welcoming of cannabis into our culture, and also being its ability to be heard over the airwaves. Let's face it. And if people are so scared or afraid, you know what? Here, have a reasonable conversation with your kids, with your community. Be like, hey, look, this is cannabis. It's here now, all right? And I am all for its legalization, and I'm all for its decriminalization as well. But on top of that, too, what I would like some of these advertisers to do, going a little bit further, is calling for the immediate pardon of men and women who have been convicted for cannabis possession.
Yes, I would like to see
the
that
immediate
too.
pardon and forgiven as well, because that's something that should also go further as well. Because again, most the people who are behind bars are victims of the war on drugs, and it needs to end. Because prohibition never solves a goddamn thing. Sorry, when I think of the word prohibition, I can't help but think of that Ken Burns documentary. There's a segment in there where they were showing what grape juice and other types of beverages to drink was Italian meals, and I'm looking at this, and that list was sacrilegious. I'd have to break the law right away to get a glass of wine with Italian meals. Eating fine Italian meals without wine it's a high offense. And
that should actually be illegal.
Yes.
Criminalize that.
You know what?
Criminalize that.
I am. And I'm the one to do it. Bring it on, Internet. Bring it on. But with that being said, final note to this. Cannabis legalization, all for it, 100%. And also, I'm glad that it's potentially going to be on air for the radio.
It would seriously, it would be something that really could support local journalism. I think that the local journalism act that they were trying to push forward to support, I think that stalled. But honestly, if you could remove restrictions on advertising, that would be a fantastic way to promote local media, just by giving them, the cash they need, cash flow they need, and that relationship. So there we go.